What is up, everybody? Solomon here. Super excited to be with Genfinity, interviewing a multitude of ecosystems across Web3. Today, I'm very excited to be interviewing a few different individuals from the Algorand ecosystem at the foundation. They've had their Decipher 2024 event. Lots of notable announcements coming out. I do have Mark Wallenberg, who is the CMO at the Algorand Foundation. Mark, give me an overview. How's Decipher went? I've seen a ton of announcements coming out.
Yeah, hey Solomon, great to be with you. So the conference has been amazing. Over the past 2 days, we've had over 500 developers and builders and investors participate, and it really shows kind of the vibrancy of the ecosystem. It was just incredible to see everybody kind of be excited about what's going on. And I talked to so many builders, as you know, like I've only started 3 months ago. So for me, it was a great opportunity to talk to many of these developers and listen to projects that they're building, and it's all like to do with like real world use cases, and it's just so exciting to see. So it was a great 2 days.
That's awesome. And I know there's some aspects. I mean, maybe we'll run through a couple of these announcements just quickly here and just give your thoughts on them. Saw some stuff obviously coming out of Coinbase, the stablecoin initiatives, but there's also a learn and earn aspect to that. And I kind of wanted to just ask you from your standpoint, I mean, the importance of education in Web3 blockchain, and just your thoughts around kind of the integration that's occurred with Coinbase.
Yeah, so I mean, the Learn and Earn program is going to be a new initiative for us later this year, and I'm very excited about it because we have the best blockchain technology out there, and so we're going to invest quite a bit from a marketing perspective on raising the profile of Algorand. But raising the profile is one thing, but then you also want to basically get users onto your blockchain and try things. And that's what the Learn and Earn program is designed to do. It's not just about like watching a video and then we'll give you some USDC or algos. No, we want activity on chain. So the whole idea behind the Learn and Earn program is that we will hold users' hands, ask them to download the Para wallet. When they download the Para wallet, they'll get some USDC or algos. Then we'll guide them through some of our DeFi protocols. We'll get them to download an NFT, maybe participate in governance, maybe participate in node decentralization. And so we'll basically lead users through the experience of Algorand and let them see the power of Algorand, the fact that we're not in beta, right? The fact that transactions have instant finality, the fact that transactions never fail. And so we want them to experience all of this. And so that's what the Learn and Earn program is designed to do.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned one thing that's really interesting, which is actually being able to kind of witness the value of what's going on with the technology. Another announcement that came out from you guys is obviously integration with Nansen for on-chain analytics and accessibility aspects to everybody, which is definitely a part of that education. Like you can educate yourself, but when you're using this technology, you want to be able to actionably see what's going on. Can you maybe walk us through the integration with Nansen a little bit and the importance of this?
Yeah, Nansen integration is really important for us. I mean, as you know, data is in the blockchain ecosystem, and so people that evaluate blockchains will basically look at the data and come to a conclusion about how active and how vibrant the ecosystem is. And so and for us as an ecosystem, data has been a problem because some of the providers really don't list Algorand or have outdated information or even wrong data, specifically on transaction count. And so Nansen, as you know, is one of the top 3 analytics providers out there that is really known for their real-time data and insights, and is used widely by investors, by traders, by the media. And so, yeah, so we're working with Nansen on creating custom dashboards that really highlight all of the important real-time data metrics on Algorand and insights as well. And so we're very excited about that.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point. I mean, there's all sorts of like news sites and stuff like that throughout the the digital asset and blockchain space, and it's always interesting to me to look at some of this stuff and to see just almost blatant omissions of certain ecosystems for transactions per second, things like that. I know that it happens to you guys because I've literally seen it happen to you guys.
Yeah, and it's also like completely apples and oranges of sometimes, like how you basically count transactions on one blockchain versus the other. it's funny in a way because blockchains are supposed to be incredibly transparent and all the data being public. But then if you see how that data gets reported, it's not that. It's also somebody like Nansen, a highly reputable company like Nansen, to be able to make sure that they use the right data and that the comparisons are valid and useful.
Yeah, and I know you guys also went through kind of a little bit of a rebrand as well, as far as the site is concerned and some other aspects. And
Yeah.
I'm curious if you could maybe just walk us through. Everything looks really slick. So what was the thought process around it? Why did you feel like it was kind of time for the ecosystem to kind of go through a shift, and maybe just your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think from there's basically two elements, right? We did a rebrand that's aligned with our messaging, and then we launched a new website. And so the rebrand was really designed around the idea that Algorand is built for real world scale, and that's the core message that we're coming out with. And so we wanted to kind of refresh the brand to really better reflect that value proposition. And so we've kind of refreshed our colors, we kind of added more motion, and like very importantly, we also started bringing in real world images and shockingly images of people, humans, into kind of like the way we kind of present the brand. And if you look at many of the blockchains out there, like there's not that many that use real world imagery. They kind of all like esoteric and very geeky and nerdy. And like we're not like that. We're a blockchain that's built for the real world, and so we wanted the brand to reflect that. And so that's kind of how we thought about the brand and how we bring that brand to life. And then the second piece is the website itself. And so we completely redesigned the website. We came up with a new URL, algorand.co, algorand.co, and that website is the single source of truth about the project, about the protocol, and about the ecosystem. And that's new because previously we had a foundation website, we had an Inc. website, and there was no single source of information of everything that relates to Algorand. And so that's what we try to do here with this new website. And so we take a user-first journey, a user-first approach. So we have specific journeys for new users or for new developers or for new community members. And so that makes it easy for them to kind of like get to know Algorand and onboard onto Algorand. And of course, very much at the center of everything that relates to this website is our ecosystem. And so we really try to make sure our projects are front and center and on everything that we do on algorand.co. So I hope people will like it. I think it's a very kind of refreshed and new look for Algorand and a new approach to how we show up in the world.
I got to tell you, before I do these interviews, most of the time I've got to go and do due diligence. I'm sure everybody can see all the tabs that I have opened up on the top of my computer here. Yeah. I probably just could have went to algorand.co and literally just loaded everything up right from here. So it's pretty slick. And then I
noticed you have the same problem as I have, which is way too many tabs open.
every single day. Yeah. And I know, like, I think this was like a month or two ago, I found it interesting that, I really liked kind of the commercial about Algorand. And I'm just curious, like, should we expect something like that to continue in the future? I look at it as kind of like friendly competition throughout the Web3 space. What are your thoughts? Do you think that we might be seeing something else coming out soon that might be on similar lines as something like this?
Who knows? Maybe. I mean, I think the interesting thing with this commercial was that it was completely community driven, right? Like that, the script for that commercial came from the community. Governor Hat, who's a prominent member of our community, tweeted the script to me and looked at it and said, like, Ed, this is actually pretty cool and pretty good script. And then we got a few people from the community to participate in the video as well. And then we filmed it, I think it was about a month ago in New York, and then released it. And it did hit a nerve because, and it goes back to, it was a little bit friendly competition, but it also goes back to our value proposition that I was talking about. It's like we're built for real world scale. And so the idea that when blockchains meet the real world, there's only one that's ready to perform. That was the message that we're trying to get across with us in a funny way, and yes, maybe we'll do more of these, but with the same theme of like, hey, when blockchains meet the real world, there's only one that's like ready.
Yeah, I found it like, I think one of them was like maybe Bitcoin going through and then the user being like, oh no, you got to wait like a good 35 or 40 minutes to buy your groceries. You know, the
I mean, the
importance
truth sometimes, like, I was funny to see the reactions from the maxis that be like, "Oh, why is this possible?" But like, I mean, the truth sometimes hurts. I understand that.
the importance of these physical events too. I know, you know, we've been to a few of them, and I always find it interesting. Like we're kind of in this digital world with this technology. We all talk online and do all this stuff, and I always find that the majority of stuff kind of does really happen at these, you know, actual like conferences and real world events still. So you can't pull away totally out of the value of like actually seeing people in person and meeting people in person. What are your thoughts around that? And I guess what excites you moving forward throughout the rest of this year and leading up to next year's Decipher?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think these events are incredibly valuable, and I think it's just learning about all these projects and meeting with the developers and seeing their passion and for what they do and for what they're trying to achieve, and so that's super exciting. And I think also from a builder perspective, it's just so incredible to be able to meet all the people that are working on big things in the same room, be able to exchange experiences, network, help each other as well. I think is incredibly valuable, and so I'm very excited about that. Now, what excites me most is really the opportunity to significantly broaden blockchain appeal amongst the developer community. And as you know, like, blockchain is still pretty much a niche. I mean, there's only about 30,000 active blockchain developers in the world. There's 8 million Python developers. So what excites me really is going after those 8 million Python developers and showing them the value of developing a blockchain. And that's a lot of what our focus is continuing to be. And as you know, we launched AlgoKit 2.0, which is a native Python implementation. And so we have the easiest on-ramp for Python developers of any blockchain, basically, in the industry. And so we're really going to double down on like talking to Python developers, explaining, why blockchain matters and how they can on-ramp in the easiest possible way onto Algorand. And that's, I think, a very exciting future.
We went to I actually went to, so PyCon was in like 5 minutes from my house. And I went down there, and you're right, there's tons of developers, tons of builders, and you think about different industries and verticals that deal, Python as canonical language. You get into like the financial services industry, you get into Internet of Things, you get into artificial intelligence, and the lone soldiers at PyCon were Algorand, amidst the Bloomberg signs and everything else. And I did find it really interesting. I stepped back and I'm like, there's millions and millions of Python developers. Like, why are there not more blockchain and distributed ledger ecosystems honing in on this? And it was really cool.
Don't tell them. We'd like to be the only ones there. And so we're going to go to We Are Developers, which is not a huge developer conference in Europe, in July. And we'll be there in full force, and we'll probably also going to be the only blockchain there. So, but let's keep it a secret.
All right. Sounds good. Well, Mark, it was a pleasure to be able to interview you. Stay tuned with us, everybody. I think that we've got John Woods coming up in a couple of minutes here. I believe we might have Eric, who's head of BD and capital markets as well. So, Mark, it was a pleasure having you. I'm going to kind of go to screen share here, the Decipher logo here, and then we'll come back with either Eric or John here in just a second. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thanks so much for having me.
Let's see if we get this working all right.
How you doing?
Hey, John, how you doing?
Good. Let me get the logos in.
Yeah, let me minimize my little screensaver action there. Yeah, super excited to have you come in. I'm sure that this is like the umpteenth interview that you've done over the past couple of days.
Sure, I've done lots of them, but I think it's so important. I'm getting the message out there. Like, what's the point in doing all the hard work if you're not going to talk about it? And so for me, this is the best bit. I love talking about it.
100%. Well, I kind of want to start, if you could just maybe give a little bit of a overview of how you think Decipher 2024 went for Algorand.
It's been unbelievably great. I've been here for 2 years, and we didn't do Decipher last year because we felt like we wanted to have really substantive stuff in order to share with people. And so we skipped last year. We skipped 2023, but we did do it in 2022. And it was fine. We had a good time there. We made some announcements, including AlgoKit, the very first version of our developer tools. But there was something missing in the air, and this year we captured it. And there's an electricity here. There's an authenticity. Everyone who's here is an individual who is building applications on Algorand, who is very focused on making sure that they deliver impactful products to people. And so it's just wonderful. I guess it's a little bit more boutique or bespoke. The experience has been wonderful, and we have just a great bunch of people here. And so, yeah, very, very pleased with how it went. And we had some great announcements as well.
Yeah, I want to get into some of the announcements with you here. I think, the first one that sticks out to me was the one that I woke up at 4:15 this morning and turned on my phone to the live stream. And I just so happened to catch, Stacy presenting with the Quantos team and the Archax team. And it was I hit the record button and I was able to capture a good three minutes of the actual kind of announcement here. But this is obviously huge. This is the first money market fund that's been tokenized on Algorand.
Right.
Archax obviously tokenizing an issuance of part of Aberdeen's 3.8 billion euro money market funds. And I found it really interesting to listen to the head of Quantos talking about the capabilities of atomic swaps of regulated financial products and regulated financial money such as electronic money or digital euro representation needed to facilitate that. Can you maybe walk us through the importance of this announcement for the ecosystem?
Absolutely. And maybe let me start by saying, the first time I heard about EuroD, I was like, oh, cool, a euro stablecoin. And they were like, no, it's not a stablecoin. I'm like, well, what is it if it's not a stablecoin? Because it's a blockchain euro, right? And it took me a little while to understand it, but I sat down with the guys on the finance side, and they were saying this. They call it an electronic money token, or EMT. It's actual euro. It's regulated actual euro. So, from the point of view of the European Central Bank or the Dutch Central Bank or whatever central bank is regulating EuroD, I think it's the Dutch, I believe. They see that euro on Algorand the same way they see a 50 euro note in your pocket, or the same way they see a euro that sits in your bank account with a local bank. It is part of the euro supply, and it is fundamentally indistinguishable legally from a euro note. So now that we have that, Aberdeen, of course, is a money market fund. I don't know a ton about it because I'm on the tech side, but it's, of course, a very large and serious money market fund. So the biz dev team and our finance guys thought it'd be really great if we could get to a place where we could use this digital euro that's already on chain and is actual euro, no messing. We could also have a money market fund, a serious money market fund, tokenized. Okay, so it is also on chain, and the representation, the tokenized version of the Aberdeen fund, is again as close to actual ownership of it as is legally possible. And so now what we have is we have a tokenized version of Aberdeen. We have the euro EMT, which is true euro, and now we're able to enable people. We empower people to be able to trade Aberdeen directly on chain. And so this is the best bit, as far as I understand it. They normally, when you're trading Aberdeen, you do it with your usual 2-day settlement, right? You transfer the money by a Swift or a wire or whatever, and you get to a place where 2 days later your tokens will you'll not tokens, but you'll receive the ownership of the fund. That's great, but it's if you're taking some large position for a long time. But for people who want to high frequency trade, or they want to be able to, as you said earlier in the conversation, trade atomically, where, for example, in a single transaction, they can do this delivery versus payment. They can send the euro, receive the Aberdeen instantly, right, with 0-second finality. That, you know, you're not waiting 2 days. You're waiting for a block, 3 seconds or 2.8 seconds, and as soon as it's in a block, that atomic transaction is settled, and you receive your funds, and the other party receives. You receive the tokenized version of the fund, and the other party receives the euro. That is a game changer. That is bringing money markets into the 21st century. I don't think we've seen anything like it. And essentially, it's all the benefits of the money markets with all of the benefits of Algorand's instant finality and security. So it really is the modernization of trading.
I think what's interesting too, and when you think about the ways that, or the things that this technology opens up, money markets certainly really important, you know, huge areas, multiple industry verticals, things like that. But I think it's really cool to even look at another announcement that you guys had, which is the humanitarian aid aspects and what the technology can, or how the technology can impact that. You talk about speed and getting funds from one place to another. What's more important than kind of helping people that are in need in that regard? And you guys announced Algorand Foundation, Circle. So obviously we know Circle with USDC and those aspects, WorldPay and FIS aspects, United Nations and others forming this humanitarian council for blockchain-based cash aid and getting these funds to people that really need them in a really quick and streamlined way, leveraging the tech. Can you maybe just talk a little bit on it? And then I'm going to get into some of the tech aspects as well for you.
Yeah, sure. So this is something I'm personally proud of. You know, Algorand Foundation has partnered with a number of different organizations over the last year. We did a partnership with Hedera, where we started DREC, this idea, you know, for the betterment of the ecosystem, to have a standardized way to secure your keys in a decentralized manner. And so we want to partner with the most authentic and impactful associations that we can. This is a great example of where Algorand and its blockchain are making real impact on people's lives. This is making people's existence less painful. These folks who need access to these emergency funds, you know, from the UN and other governmental organizations, they had to go through an enormous rigmarole in order to try to get the actual funds and be able to spend them. Now, with organizations like HesabPay, which have done terrific work in Afghanistan, enabling people who quite literally would not have had access to structured money, i.e. a bank account. They worked initially in Afghanistan to help, I understand, women who were in various regions where they didn't have access, they were oppressed and didn't have access to proper financial structure. They enabled them to use the HesabPay, which is a digital Afghani, the local currency, to have financial independence. So hugely important. Now, that same technology, amongst others like Circles, is being applied in a broader context. So moving away from Afghanistan now to a global context, where Algorand enables humans who have suffered disaster to have near instant access to money, to emergency funds, rather than having to go through the traditional banking system. And to me, this is a great example of where technology is making people's lives better.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, and there's just looking through the list of announcements, I think I want to maybe focus on just a couple that probably hit really close home to you as well. And I want to start maybe with the debut of liquid authentication for more secure crypto communications. We talk all the time about security and the Web3 space and user experience and things like that. And I know I saw a tweet from you today about Wallet Connect, or maybe it was from one of the accounts about Wallet Connect. But can you maybe walk us through what this announcement represents for not only Algorand but the wider Web3 industry? And yeah, just give us kind of an overview from your stance.
Yeah, Liquid Auth is best in class. It's a technical tour de force. It's really very beautifully engineered. Now, you might say, well, you can't say that about your own stuff, but it really is great. So let me walk you through this. Liquid Auth is completely non-partisan, non-biased. It's not Algorand focused. Liquid Auth can work with any ecosystem in Web3, from Hedera to Ethereum to Cardano to AVAX to Solana. It works. It's completely agnostic. Okay, it's nothing to do with Algorand. Instead, what Liquid Auth is a suite. It's a library. It's a suite of tools to do peer-to-peer encrypted communication and authentication. Okay, so what does that mean? Here's an interesting thing. People go to a lot of effort to build decentralized venues, right? Curve Finance, Folks Finance, other places where you can go to use dApps or smart contract-based decentralized platforms. They then, of course, need to interact with that in some way. And so what do you do when you want to interact with a smart contract or a dApp on a blockchain, whether it's Ethereum, Algorand, or any other blockchain? Answer, you open your web browser and you hit up curve.fi or whatever the equivalent is, Folks Finance, whatever. When you're on that website, and you're interacting with the dApp and you're starting to make your swaps, your trades, or whatever you're doing, buy your NFTs, whatever, you have to, usually you've got to sign a transaction with your wallet, right? You've got to connect your wallet. And so how does that normally happen? The answer is, of course, on Ethereum, you use MetaMask, and it's a Chrome extension or whatever, and it sits in your browser beside the website. And in the Algorand world, you use Wallet, which is our equivalent of MetaMask, if you like, and it sits on your phone. It's an iPhone app and Android app. The communication between your phone or MetaMask and the front end for the dApp, that communication still is in many cases, over a centralized message broker called Wallet Connect. So Wallet Connect made it very easy for any wallet to talk to any dApp. And that's a great thing because, it's translating directly between the wallet and the dApp. But the problem with Wallet Connect is not, its user experience. The problem with Wallet Connect is the fact that it's run by a centralized entity. There's a single entity that owns Wallet Connect. The servers are all closed source, run privately, and they permission it. Now, with Wallet Connect version 2.0, which is a recent change, you have to be whitelisted or allow listed in order to get on Wallet Connect's backend. That is not in the spirit of Web3. So we looked at this and we thought we can do better. And I hope that this ends up replacing Wallet Connect across not just Algorand, but across a whole bunch of different ecosystems. Liquid Auth allows you to do this communication trivially between the wallet and the dApp in a secure, authenticated, encrypted way, using nothing but decentralized federated technologies. It's incredible. And one other thing, because we built Liquid Auth with FIDO2, and so if there's some people listening who are geeks still, I've heard these terms before, they're industry standards, right? FIDO2, WebAuth, WebRTC, passkeys. Passkeys are one I think a few people have heard of because they're quite popular these days. You log into Google with passkeys. You can use Liquid Auth to take your Algorand wallet and sign into any website that supports passkeys. So can you imagine you can sign into x.com, you can sign into Google, you can sign into Apple, you can sign into GitHub using your Algorand account as the basis for your identity. And by the way, this is not just, like I said, not limited to Algorand. You can go and do this with Solana. It is a killer application. And Liquid Auth, which by the way, started just as an idea. It wasn't like on our roadmap or anything. It just it came out of Skunkworks development team. But it's a game changer. And I'm really, really excited that we did it.
That's awesome. And I know you mentioned the Wallet, and let me share my screen here for a second. I know that these guys had a really major announcement today too. But if you guys, for those watching, if you want to check out the Algo wallet, it's parawallet.app. Maybe walk us through the impact of, just briefly, integration with something like MasterCard and what that's going to open up for Parawallet users.
Yeah, totally. So we partnered with a company called Immersive, brilliant guys based out of New Zealand. And they're what they do is they issue MasterCards. They're a regulated entity that has the right to issue MasterCards legally. And that's what they do. They had a relationship where they had built on Ethereum. And so they were essentially allowing people who are Ethereum users to use their Ethereum accounts, to issue a MasterCard against their Ethereum account so that they could spend USDC or whatever. Very cool. When I talked to them, I said to them, when someone taps with the MasterCard in a store for like a coffee or whatever, do you guys take the crypto, straight away? How does that work? Do you move the crypto on the back end? Because I was thinking that must get expensive. And do you pass that expense onto the user? And how does that work? And they said, we don't. We kind of batch it Okay, we have a certain amount of batching, and so we wait for a little while, we bundle them all up together, and then we move the funds. And I thought to myself, I know Ethereum is super popular, and of course I understand why you targeted it first, but if you guys built on Algorand, you'd have a great time for two reasons. Number one, the fees are low, as in they're essentially close to zero, and number two, Algorand has instant finality without rollbacks. There's no short forks, there's no block orchestration, there's none of that stuff. So what that means is when you submit a transaction, within 2.5 seconds, it's in a block and it's done. And so what this means is those guys don't have to batch things. They have no translation risk now. They have no time risk. They can just take their crypto as soon as someone taps. And so when they seen this, they were like, huh, that is kind of cool. So we worked with them. They were new to Algorand, of course, and we worked with them to help them build the contracts and make sure that they had a good time and to expedite the whole thing. But yeah, I'm proud to say now in testnet, they are in testnet right now, and they're going to be in mainnet this year. And you will be able to load your assets onto your Para wallet. You can buy USDC now on Coinbase. You can buy your dollar tokens there, the USDC, send them to your Para wallet, and then spend using your MasterCard that's associated with your Algorand account. So again, it's opening this technology up to more people, and it's bringing it to people who are comfortable with MasterCards, which is essentially everyone.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you look at something like Coinbase and USDC and things like that. What that opens up for people that are, launching real world businesses on blockchain and being able to kind of have that USDC aspect and all the other stuff that comes along with it. I think getting into tooling as well. Tell us a little bit about LoRa, the live on-chain resource analyzer. I saw this come out too, and I figured you might be interested to dive into the weeds with us here.
Yeah, LoRa the Explorer. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
That's what we called it after. Yeah, it's stupid, but it's funny. This is all about making the dev tools better, dude. Like we already, this year, we dropped AlgoKit. AlgoKit is the name of our product that helps you build apps on Algorand. We dropped AlgoKit 2.0. Okay, so what did that do? It brought Python and it brought command line tools to help you build, test, and deploy. We're bringing AlgoKit 3 this year. It's going to bring TypeScript, this maybe the second most popular language on earth, and it has a bunch of extra wonderful things for debug, and this is one of them. LoRa is one of them. So when you're writing apps on blockchain, it's the same as writing apps for a normal computer. You need to debug it, you need to fix problems, you need to fix bugs, etc. That was really hard before AlgoKit 3 because we didn't have line-by-line debugging, i.e. you couldn't step through your code line by line and see what it was doing. You had to kind of look at it all at once. And on top of that, there was no way to visualize, as you're seeing here, by the way, thanks for bringing that up. It's really helpful to illustrate. There was no way to visualize the flow of your app. Like, okay, what happens? I make a payment, then I do an app call, then I call a function, then, the money moves over here. And so what LoRa is a beautiful, quick way to visualize the flow of your transaction so that you can understand exactly what's going on. And indeed, it will help you debug if there are indeed bugs within your app. We're trying to bring that kind of Apple experience, right? We're trying to bring that Xcode level experience where you have visual, rich debugging tools where, another thing we brought, which is super techy, is local compilation. So before you write your code, it would have to go to Algorand's node to compile. And then we're going to just do that locally. And again, this is letting you do things like REPLs, where you can, the second you hit a key, you get feedback on the screen straight away saying, offering you code completion or telling you, hey, that's invalid, the little squiggly line underneath it saying, hey, that's not good, because the compiler is able to do it in real time. It's able to build REPLs and stuff. So all of this stuff, I know there's a lot of technical jargon there, but all of this stuff, if you wrap it up, what is it? It's just making the developer experience sexy. And whether it's attracting the 8 million Python developers or the 15 million TypeScript developers, we're just trying to get people excited about Algorand because they should be.
Yeah, and I before I get to kind of forward-looking statements, I had Mark on, so CMO at the Algo Foundation, and was kind of talking about PyCon. And I went to that, by the way, and I found it really interesting. It's rare that I kind of have aha moments after being in the space for however long. But going to that event and seeing financial services industries and seeing AI projects and seeing Internet of Things type aspects and all the Python developers that were there. And then I saw Algorand being the only blockchain represented at this kind of this event that had tons and tons of developers there. Maybe just walk through kind of your envisionment for reaching into that talent pool of developers in all these traditional industry verticals, and how important it is to have tooling like things like LoRa and things like that to make that developer experience. Because I think you alluded to it with what we just talked about. Like, where do you see this kind of going?
Yeah, totally. So I think a couple of things. One, I don't like the kind of compartmentalization or like segregation that we tend to do in all things, by the way. You know, I say I'm an iPhone user, you're an Android user, you know, I say Web3 dev, Web2 dev. I don't like it so much. It's much better if we draw less lines, I feel. And we don't see, well, I speak for myself. I see Algorand certainly as an operating system. It runs code. It just runs it in a decentralized way, but it runs code, it runs apps. And so we have to target developers the way Mark, our CMO, who's brilliant, did when he was at Google and he was marketing Android, which is also an operating system for a mobile phone, but it's an operating system. And so that is to bring the toys to the developers, make them have a great time. And by kind of bringing these mainstream languages, and by the way, we made some architectural decisions with the developer tools, specifically not to make a flavor of TypeScript, like some kind of like bastardized TypeScript, or a flavor of, you know, Python, like Viper. It's actual Python, just like the Euro D, right? It's like actual Euro. And so it's semantically and syntactically adherent to the standard for Python and TypeScript. And so when we go out then to PyCon, or I'm going to We Are Developers next month in July in Berlin, which is another regular conference for regular developers, we're not going out with this kind of like, please be a Web3 dev. Instead, we're going, hey, you're a developer, your experience building on Algorand will be very similar to the experience you currently have. And we want to attract more developers in to this platform so that the Algorand App Store sings, right? And we do that, I think, by going after developers wholesale, not trying to segregate them. And one last thing, you might say, well, what would make a developer who's at We Are Developers or PyCon take notice of something like Algorand? Why should they care? The answer is because when they build on Algorand, they get certain properties that you just can't achieve on traditional software engineering platforms. You're able to do things that involve disintermediation, peer-to-peer, source of truth or veracity, provenance, self-sovereignty, decentralized identity, these types of things. These let developers own their products in a way that they don't own them when they build them on Amazon Web Services.
I got to get better at unmuting my mic, by the way. Yeah, for those of you guys that are devs out there in the world, you watch this video, algorand.co/AlgoKit. John, I would be remiss to think if I didn't miss anything, because there's been so many announcements, but if there's any forward-looking statements you might have, anything I might have missed, and if not, can you maybe tell us a little bit about what you're excited about for the Algorand ecosystem or the industry as a whole moving into next year's Decipher 2025?
Right. So I think you touched on everything. There's only one other small thing, just as an example of something that I think is important in terms of interoperability. We launched an implementation of BIP44. So the Bitcoin standard for how you take 24 words and you represent a private key. This BIP44 thing, it lets people, as they will be familiar with Ledger, have a single seed phrase that is their crypto wallet, and then derive many addresses. So, you'll be familiar with Ledger, you can get new address, and you can do it like that. On Algorand, we didn't have that. We had 25 words, and you couldn't derive addresses. Okay, you basically, if you wanted a new address, you had to make a new account. Not good. So, just as an example of where we're not trying to force everyone down a certain path, we're happy to come and meet people where they are. We've changed now. We've changed the standard on how you implement accounts to a BIP44 compliant approach. And so that's an example of where we are following the industry because we think that they're doing it the right way. So it's something I'm proud of because I think it's important to reduce as much friction as possible. In terms of the outlook for 2025, I think, whether it's the consensus incentives that we're going to do, so we're going to start rewarding people for block production on Algorand. At the moment, you don't get paid. Soon you'll get rewarded by the end of this year. Whether it's the move to peer-to-peer, whether it's AlgoKit 3 or the other things that we talked about. I think the most important thing for us at this point is not some tech thing. Instead, it's relevance and cool factor. And so how do you get into that zeitgeist? How do you be the chain that everyone's talking about, everyone wants to be involved with, everyone's looking at? By the way, I think when they get here, I think those tech things will matter because they'll give an experience that like doesn't suck, doesn't take forever, doesn't fail all the time, you know, whatever. But how do you get people to look in the first place? And so for that, I'm just super excited about the work that Mark's doing. He's a very talented person, and his team are very talented, and he's hired the right people around him. And he's many people who were already at the foundation now have the leadership that they need to really execute well. And whether it's the little ad we did, which had like tens of millions of views, I think it was like 12 or 15 million views, or whether it's our rebranding at Decipher. I think we're embarking now into a new era of relevance. And I hope that in Decipher 2025, really, it's less a story of tech and change and more a story of the success that we've had from attracting people to the chain.
Meeting people where they're at on a network that doesn't go down and that's decentralized. Looking forward to hopefully we do more of these interviews, John. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations on all the announcements coming out of Decipher 2024. Looking forward to the future milestones coming out of the Algorand ecosystem as well, and the contributions to the wider space, not just for blockchain developers, but for developers in general.
Thank you. And by the way, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you and your listeners as well, because, really, I think the hardest thing is getting the message out there of some of the cool things we're doing. We're not perfect, but we're heading the right way.
Awesome. Well, hang out with me for just 1 second here while I end the stream to make sure that it uploads correctly. And, well, it was a pleasure hosting for all you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this little kind of piggybacked interview stream as well. And kudos to the Algorand ecosystem team and community for all the cool stuff coming out of Decipher. I'm going to end this stream, guys.
See ya.